Hi, this is Professor Medved, and I'd like to give a little talk on how to start problem 344, which is our first case for the term. Another note, too, is please take a look at my announcement, and we have changed our case from problem 343 to problem 344. And the reason for that was problem 343 had a great deal of graphs associated with it, and problem 344 is a little bit easier and has less graphic. So before we get started specifically into our case, what I like to do is go over some of the concepts, and then what we'll do is we'll go over the problem, I'll get you started, and then you can take it from there. Just want you to note that problem 344, which is our first case for week 2, deals with the concept of step costs. And step costs are where you add an additional layer of production or an additional layer of cost as you increase or decrease your productive capacity. One example would be adding a shift at your local Chevrolet plant. If you go from 2 shifts to 3 shifts, that would be an additional maybe 500 workers. So that additional cost layer would be an additional group of step costs. And they would include costs such as fixed costs of supervision, additional depreciation on the equipment, etc., and would, of course, include additional variable costs of hourly workers. So those are things you want to kind of look at regarding step costs. From a university standpoint, if we add another section of accounting 640, that would be an additional costing element, etc. We have in our problem today, which is on page 109, the funding cards for additional prisoners that are coming in. Not exactly the most exciting topic, but nonetheless, it's something that pertains to almost any type of enterprise. So with no further ado, let's run over just some basic information in problem 344. Algona Beach Jail has a staffing of at least 1 guard for every 4 prisoners. So what we're looking at here is we have 1 guard equals 4 prisoners. And that ratio also includes, if you go over 4 prisoners, let's say there's a 5th prisoner, you have to get an additional guard. Okay, so that's something you want to kind of look at. The jail will hold 48 prisoners. The beach attracts tourists in spring and summer, so you can imagine that there's more activity at the jail in the spring and summer than there is in the fall and winter when it's sedate. And generally in the fall and winter, the population is between 12 and 16 prisoners. Okay. And in the spring and summer, it can fluctuate between 12 and 48. Okay. Now, the question is, what are going to be our fixed costs, and what are going to be our variable costs? Okay. In our example here, our fixed costs are going to be that we have 4 permanent guards, and they're paid $36,000 per year. And just to break that down a little bit, that comes out to a total of $3,000 per week, okay? Or per month, I'm sorry. I'm ahead of myself here. I also want you to note that the guards are considered to be a fixed cost. On the other hand, for purposes of our other costs, our variable costs for guards are $600 per week. So in other words, we have more staffing during the spring and summer to add to our additional clients that we have. So the question is how to go through this. The first part says prepare a graph for the guards. And what I want you to do there is if you have trouble doing the graph in Excel or Word, what you can do is build up a graph where you come up with, 5 guards equals how much in cost, etc. Or another way of doing this to convey your message would be the number of prisoners, number of guards required, and the cost. Okay? So those are some of the things you can do as you go through here tonight and take a look at. So I'm not all that concerned about the graph. I mean, have fun with it. If you're totally frustrated after looking at it for a little bit, take my approach and go with the number of guards and the number of prisoners, the relationship. So you could actually have, 1 guard equals 4 prisoners, and then the cost. Now remember, the fixed cost is $750 per week. Variable is $600 per week. The $3,000 per month, and in the problem it says assume that there's 4 weeks in a month. That will equal a total of $750 per per week, and that would be our fixed part. And then any amount over 16 prisoners will require additional guards beyond our fixed cost sheet. So anyway, just something to kind of look at and something to have a little fun with as you go through here. In part 2, they're asking for what would be the budgeted cost for jail guards for the month of January, and would this be a fixed or a variable cost? So like I kind of mentioned before in my just chatting a little bit prior, in January, prisoners are expected. $3,000 per week should be planned for jail guards. This would represent the minimum staffing level and would be a fixed cost. And remember, it would be $3,000 per month, like we calculated, times 4 guards, which would equal a total of $12,000. Here comes the fun part. And this is where I guide you a little bit through weeks 1, 2, and 3, and then after that, you're going to need to finish up part 4 of part 3 here, or week 4, part 3, the total, and then, of course, the variance, the difference between what the cost and the actual. So the question here is prisoners. How would be our cost allocated? And cost would be calculated pretty simply as taking 25 minus 16 prisoners equal 9 additional prisoners. And then the question is, what's the cost? Well, 9 prisoners is going to require 3 guards, because up to 8 will be 2, and then the additional prisoner coming in is going to require another guard. So we take our total of $3,000, which was our fixed cost, add in our $1,800, which is variable, and that would be the $600 per week. At 3 guards, and that's going to give you the total of $4,800. And again, what you'll want to do is tie that in here. Okay, that'll give you the $4,800. And then using that same formula, you can calculate the $6,600, the $4,800, tie them in. And then when you get a little confidence doing that, start working on number 4. And then going from there, you're on your own. Okay, have a great week, and I hope this helps out a little bit. Take care.